You're watching Fragments of Silicon, brought to you by Fragments of Silicon and viewable on your Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Gollix and Petty. Right, let us get to the news. Right, so with the current configuration, Gollix, I believe you have to start things.
Right, for sound reasons. Well, my parents are back from their trip, so that's good. Everything seems to have gone well. Unfortunately, the place they used to bring home chocolates from this place, but that place closed a few years ago, and it's still never the same, considering this is a place we've been going since I was literally a child. Let's see. I finished my catalog in Splatoon 3, so that's good. Now just waiting for the big run and immediately following Splatfest coming in like the next couple weeks, I think, so we'll see how that goes. Yes, I also didn't forget how to work while I was off work. I hadn't slept good for the last 2 days, but I realized this morning when I was getting ready to leave that that's because I'd forgotten to take my medicine for 2 days.
I guess that'll do that.
Between a combination of blood pressure and depression, anxiety, probably, yeah. Kind of explains lying in bed at night with my heart racing, trying to worried about nothing in particular. At least I think it does. We'll see. I haven't tried to sleep since then, but
do you need to see a doctor?
No, I mean it's just it was the last 2 days I didn't take medicine. Today I took my medicine.
Yeah,
and I haven't tried to sleep since then because it's still the same day.
I get what he was putting down.
We finally finished the one shot in our Pathfinder game after 5 weeks.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're not efficient at making our way. In fairness, this was a Dragon Magazine module or dungeon, and those are written to fit the magazine format. Excuse me, I'm sneezing a little, and sometimes don't have amazing markings for when you're supposed to rest. And also, this was one with lots of undead, and undead do things like stat damage and negative levels and poison, which is all wonderfully fun to try to deal with when you only have one cleric who's not amazing. Or rather, not amazing at healing because they're
a fighting cleric, not a healing cleric.
Not even that, it's a goblin cleric of a fire god.
Ah.
Yes, he can do the healing and stuff, but it's not like the first thing in his mind, and the player only has so much experience as a spellcaster. Anyway. It was fun and we got some neat stuff, but that's about all for that. Next time we get to maybe go back to our main thing, we'll see. eBay was being a bitch earlier. It wasn't letting me sign in on my computer because it said I had JavaScript disabled or whatever.
Fine.
Either that or I was navigating too fast, which I don't think I even did, so... But I was able to get in on my
Honestly, Reddit was
work
also
PC.
down, so there might have just been a giant net failure somewhere. In
Okay,
the back end.
that might explain it. But yeah, the reason I was on eBay is because you know how McDonald's has been doing a collector's glasses meal thing, or collector's cups rather, because they're plastic.
Yeah.
I was trying to get those, and I got 4. And then without getting any repeats, and then the 5th one I got a repeat, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to get the rest of them on eBay. Of course, the 2 that I didn't get are the 2 most desirable ones, which is the McDonald's memorabilia, which has McDonald's lands and McDonald's Legos and stuff, and the Coca-Cola Bears one. The theme of these glasses seems to be stuff that they have historically repeatedly used for Happy Meals.
So I'm guessing you collect McDonald's memorabilia, or is it...
Not really, I just really liked those glasses. I don't normally.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. That was occupying an oversized chunk of my brain. And, as we're going to be discussing today, later, they finally put out a collection of all of the Castlevania DS games, so I got that, and they're still fun games.
Have you had a chance to play them yet? See what they changed, or...
I am approximately halfway through Dawn of Sorrow, I think. I mean, not counting grinding.
Well, yeah.
Which there is a variable amount of grinding. I'm trying to not grind too much, except for like a few souls that I really know I want, and I probably won't try and go for the early Soul Eater ring just because it's super expensive. There's a really efficient, fairly early in the game, money grinding strategy. Which, if you're playing it, it is that Yoko can upgrade your weapons using monster souls. So, brass knuckles cost 200. And combining that with a zombie soul, which is, you know, a common enemy early in the game.
A very common enemy.
Upgrades. It's a fairly rare drop, actually, but like there's a room that has like 10 of them and
I was
more
about to say,
spawn if you stay there.
A rare drop on an infinite respawning enemy is not that hard to get.
Yeah. Anyway, with a zombie soul that upgrades into a Kestis, which sells for 3,000. So you buy a bunch of brass knuckles, kill zombies until you have 9 souls, which is all you can hold, fuse them and sell them back, and then repeat until you have enough money to do what you want. I've already done that once, just to make sure I had a safe cushion of money, but we'll see. That's, I think, about all I got. But yes, I'm enjoying those, and I do intend to try to actually play through them. The other collections I mostly got because I wanted them to make this one, honestly.
Yeah, I know that move.
That, and if they'd ever put out the actual anniversary collection proper with Symphony of the Night on the fucking Switch, I would want that too, but, you know.
Good luck.
Apparently Sony really doesn't want Nintendo ever having...
Well, it was on the Xbox 360.
That's why I said Nintendo specifically ever having Symphony of the Night.
Anyway.
But yeah, that's about what I got.
All right, Petty. It seems like you have a lot of stuff.
Oh, where to even begin? Last week I did forget to mention it, but I got my baclofen pump refilled. So, yay! And
Has
that
it
was,
already been a year?
yes, July was the year.
Yeah, how time flies.
And it's we decided to only fill it about halfway now, since it takes a year, and the medicine can start losing its effectiveness in that time.
Right.
So it's one of those. It's easier to only fill it halfway instead of, because the rest of that medication would just need to be wasted. So it's better to just come in twice a year. But even with it filled halfway, the paperwork says it can still be fine for about 200 days.
Mm.
So it's like we have a good enough cushion that, say something's going on and I can't make it on that specific day, we still have about a month cushion to find a day that will work. So that's fun. And apparently I have, the computer thinks I have about 67 months with this pump until it needs to be replaced, which, you know, that's a few years, so hooray, I think. Yeah. Around the time of the end of the decade, I'll be having another surgery to have the pump switched out. It shouldn't be as long as a procedure as having it put in, because the long part with having it put in was putting the catheter in my spine. That stuff's all staying. They're just basically unplugging the old pump and putting a new one in.
Hmm.
So I shouldn't be hospitalized for a week. It'll probably be overnight just to make sure the pump doesn't flip. You know, keep me
Well,
on bed rest.
we're talking like 5+ years from now.
Yeah, fair enough. And then for the fun stuff, in air quotes, early Sunday morning, I got a text from my sister asking if I spilled some water in front of the air conditioner, because we have a desk there. Turns out, no. It was not me who spilled water, it was not the cats. The air conditioner is leaking water into the house.
That's not what it's supposed to do, although there is a certain amount of condensation just implied.
Yes, we think the
Plus,
problem,
if it rains and there's an exterior chunk, sometimes rain gets into it.
the issue is we think the drain is kind of plugged, but the problem is it's about 15 feet off the ground. It's in our second story window. So it's not easy to just head around to that side of the house and just drain it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday night when I went to bed, the air conditioner downstairs was also leaking water into the house. So that's been fun.
Check for recalls on the unit.
It's 3 years old. If anything, it would need to be replaced. And they're also separate units, so it's more than likely.
I mean, the model.
They're separate models. One's
Okay.
one's an LG, one's a Toshiba.
Well, clearly they're stabbing each other while you're not looking because of corporate rivalry.
See, if they were stabbing each other, they wouldn't be draining into the house.
You don't know that.
Fair. So I've had the fun job of trying to fix it while getting complaints from my parents about, oh, it's so hot. We were sweating last night. The air conditioner said it was around 73. With the
In
fan.
fairness, your parents are probably some variation of old people.
Yeah, Dad just turned 60, so
that's a thing that can happen.
So yeah, it's been dealing with them, and then Monday, Tuesday, pulled the hose out and tried hosing down the air conditioners because that's the best I can do. it seemed to help a little bit. And then today, well, last night I kind of opened up the front to kind of look and see if there's like any blockage up there, and I found it looked like some kind of slime in the front of the air conditioner. So I pulled the shop vac out and gave it a good old, use the wet setting on it and just kind of had at it. It still has some water in it now, but it's not leaking into the front of the house. So definitely one of those I'm gonna go check on it in a little while, because if the water's coming out the back like it should, rock on, the day is saved, And let's see, on Monday, my mom actually got a job. She now works at one of the local family guidance centers. So no more having to worry about that for now. But because of that, I need to get several doctor's appointments rescheduled, because these are made in a time when I didn't have to worry about if parents were going to have PTO or not, because they were both working. And now mom's not going to have paid time off. I don't think she's going to start accruing it for 3 months because she is temp to hire. And then dad's basically had to burn all of his paid time off because of his work injury. So that's fun. And then we have to delay taking Luna to the vet at least another week. Luckily, she has an extra week of her medication. But it's just, mom can be late to work at least one time per week while she's temp. So it's one of those, next week we will see about, not next week, week after next, we will see about taking Luna to the vet. And then just kind of have to sort out what's going on with my other appointments. And then the last thing, I believe I mentioned that we have to have the pool company come service our pool. Well, apparently they didn't need to replace the tubing that we thought they needed to replace. It was an installer error, and they put the tubing too deep into the connector. So they sorted that out, but they're still charging us $85 for that to fix their mess up. So we need to go talk to them and be like, hey, what the hell? Because I have it on our backyard camera, they did not switch the tubing. And they didn't even take the tubing out. Because, if I saw they took it out and, sticks and leaves fell out, fine. We'll pay the $85.
They probably weren't expecting you to have a backyard camera.
And that's their problem to deal with,
Of course.
Because, yeah, hopefully we can get this resolved, in a civil manner. Because, yeah, I have the video saved. Have you known me for how long? Do you really expect I wouldn't?
True. Still funny, though.
Oh, yeah, it's very funny when the tech wizard does tech wizard things, right?
Maybe.
I guess in funner news, when we were out this weekend, we ended up going by Hobby Lobby, and apparently they have Gundam models now.
Do not buy from Hobby Lobby.
I know. But yeah, I ended up getting a Gundam Caliburn, because finding those have been a pain in the ass. But yeah, I generally don't buy from Hobby Lobby unless there's, things that are hard to find. And I think that's it from me.
Okay, because it's my go.
Yep.
Like, I can't say my week has been going much better, though. It's a different appliance that's been giving this household trouble because the washing machine stopped working a couple days ago.
Weren't you
Like,
having issues with the dryer before?
yes, that was an electrical thing that was pretty minor.
Mm.
This was much more major.
On one
Like,
hand, they have places to do stuff for that, but on the other hand, they're expensive and a pain in the ass.
well, there's nothing that could be done for what happened to the washing because it rusted into freezing, basically.
Ugh.
Oh, that sucks. No, I just mean like laundromats exist, so laundry isn't the worst appliance to have fail, but also laundromats suck.
Let's just say it's not my dime that's taking care of this issue. So,
Right.
with that in mind, though, apparently too much bleach had been used in said laundry machine, especially since the unit is technically outdoors.
Oh,
As
it's
in,
one of those.
well, like it's in it's in a building, but not. It's in a tool shed, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
They make
um,
special type of laundry or washing machines for that.
I'm like, but the Florida environment combined with corrosive bleach equals rusted bucket.
Yep.
So a new machine has been sourced and is coming tomorrow, which had the knock-on effect of having to delay a doctor's appointment of mine.
Yeah, because somebody has to be there to sign for it and shit.
Mm-hmm. And doctor's appointment's happening next week, like, which is fine, but I'm at the limit of medication, so to speak. As
Mm.
in, I need to get a new refill.
Yeah, it's one of
Uh,
those you actually have to see the doctor for them to give you a refill type situation.
yeah, because I've run out of refills
Right.
for most of the medication, like except for one, which kind of on a different schedule. It's a whole thing.
Right.
Like, so, like I said, it's been a stressful week for me as well.
Yeah, usually
Like,
they can give you at least a extended partial if you need to. Like especially for
yeah, well,
situations like this where you can't make it.
I sized up the medication, and I'm like, I have about 2 weeks left on the pill on the amount of pills that would run out first
Mm-hmm.
because they're not on an even keel. Let's say.
Right.
Um, so a week should be fine.
Right.
Um, anyway, let's see. In terms of gaming, let's see. Did a bit of bouncing around with the library throughout the week, including loading up Halo Wars. I'm just burnt out at Halo as a franchise.
Yeah, I
Turned out.
can get that. Halo is definitely one of those ones you need to split up over some time. Shotgunning it all at once a
Yes,
is a daunting task to say the least.
I suppose so. I'm like, it's like I just sat there with Halo Wars and going through the tutorial, and I'm like, no, I'm still sick of this.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, anyway, so still, main game now is Pillars of Eternity. One of the great modern day CRPGs. It's like if you're familiar with like the Infinity Engine games, you know how this plays. I think I've gotten through the intro, what they consider the prologue or the intro, or the beginning sequence of events. Anyway, so I think that'll about do it for my news. A bit of a programming note. We do plan to have a new episode of MSP. Matt's status is still a bit unknown to us, so no idea if he's showing up. But we have a guest this week, so that's proceeding with him or without him. Anyway, speaking of proceeding with or without people, we don't have a guest this week because they had to concerningly cancel out due to a lack of current work. To me, that's always a red flag that precludes, such and such entity is closing down.
Yeah. We hope them the best and whatnot.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, we return to the Computer Chronicles at the request of Petty. We are junctioning off from where we last left off, and that was Paper Card. As mentioned, the underlying technology allowed for the building of what we know today as the Internet. So we will check in on what was known as the Internet in the year of 1993. So
Marshall McLuhan said that one day we would all live in a global village, an electronic community interconnected by communications networks that would shrink the Earth. Well, the global village has arrived, and its main street is called the Internet, where people
it turns out the global village is filled with barbarians that smell really terrible.
Today we'll surf
No,
the net,
that came later.
the Internet on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Now, they've always been there. It's just, there are more of them today.
Fair.
They were allowed to build and breed.
Yeah. Our problem
and here we
was not fixing them.
And here we have...
And it's really easy to run into them now because everything is so interconnected.
By Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside.
Okay, did they use a computer...
Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association. Providers of educational
materials. No, he's just dude very monotone.
Don't copy that floppy.
There's something we need to look at one day. Don't copy that floppy video.
You mean shareware? In general?
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart
the
Chaffee,
opposite.
and with me today is David
I know,
Schwargell
but like...
of Aladdin Systems. David, there's a little bit of interest in the internet these days. There's a new book coming out every
once
week.
Once again, bringing up what we talked about last
you
time.
Guys have just come out with a new piece of software.
It's now 1993, and how different everything is on the Computer Chronicles.
Okay, well, I'm in my address book right now.
Look at Stuart Chaffee here. Look at they've gotten rid of all the wood panels. They have like the stand-up workstations. Like everything here screams 1990s Silicon Valley startup.
That particular address book entry was a pop-up menu.
And everybody's in relative business casual now, at least compared to the last episode we saw.
Yeah.
It also knows how to get into CompuServe,
and the thing is, things would get more and more casual as the 90s would roll on.
As well as local bulletin
because
boards.
look at our guest here. He's still, fairly businessy.
It knows when to type the password. When the system asks for the name.
He's just lacking the suit jacket.
Okay, so we are just about to log on now, I see.
As you can see,
and dear God, that polo.
Yeah.
The connection here.
All right, so what can we do?
Oh God, that is so 90s.
That I earlier got to my
computer guy.
Via FTP or file transfer protocol, and you can see it's now downloading that file via Zemo.
Oh man!
Once that file is here,
it's done.
I'm going to disconnect.
Remember back when you had a computer and the only things on the computer was stuff that was actually physically on the computer?
It's a popular format on the Macintosh.
Right.
If I
because we're not.
The PC, I can expand
but here's the thing: they are talking outside those terms.
Unix, which is what
I know.
Based on. I can get at Unix compressed files.
They're saying how
UU
it's
code
different
files.
than that.
Right.
What I'm going to do now, I'm still within Sitcom, and I'm going to view the file that I just got. It's already expanded, and here it is, the Clinton normal address. This is the full text that I got
This is how
to
the
my
internet
machine.
used to work, children.
There it is. And it's pretty easy to do.
This is like having a
thank you.
time window
Today we'll
into
spend some time on
like,
the internet, and we'll visit folks who are
doing
doing all kinds
ancient
of interesting
Babylon or
things
something
on
like that in
internet.
terms of
Now,
technology.
internet started as a Defense Department network designed specifically to hook
yes,
up
and now we're
different
getting
research
into
centers around
ARPANET.
the country. So we'll begin with
Yeah.
a brief
Now,
history of the
the
internet by
actual
visiting the place
history
where
of
it
the
all
internet.
began, ARPA.
I
the
think this is
Advanced
required by
Research
law.
Projects Agency
This was
in
required by
Arlington,
law
Virginia.
for every
ARPA was formed by President
each
Eisenhower after
article
Sputnik.
thing
Its
around
mission
this
to
time.
guard the
Yes.
U.S. against technological surprise.
You know, in fact, it
Pioneering
even
Remember to
showed
thank the military for all of their
resulted in the birth of the
technological
internet.
contributions.
Since
Yada
the
yada.
early days, internet has
In
provided
fact,
vital
this-
you need help,
communication
Alex.
links in the research community.
Yeah.
The internet
Let me-
is
in
one
fact,
of
this
the major projects
information
from
showed up
the late
in
70s,
porn.
early 80s. There's been a long tradition
I'm
of
not
advanced
joking.
technology developments at ARPA, starting from the early time-sharing projects through computer graphics, into computer networks, through personal computing, and more
I forget what the
recently to
difference
new,
between
more
ARPA and
scalable
DARPA
high-performance
is.
computing.
The most recent internet-inspired
Oh, God,
development
it's
at
been a
ARPA
while.
is the Enterprise Room.
Like,
That's
DARPA is
Enterprise,
is
as
the
in
actual
Starship
department.
Enterprise.
Yes.
ARPA's Captain Kirk is Stephen Squires, Director
ARPA
of High-Performance
ARPA is
Communications
a
Research.
Well, I'd like to
alliance
welcome you to
between
bridge of
the
HPC
Department of
Enterprise.
Defense
Behind
and
me, you
various
see a view
universities.
screen, which is a
Yes,
window
the
into
universities
the
thing is
country's high-performance computing
actually
and
the important
communications
part
program.
here.
On the center screen, you can see a map representing all the bitways which are feeding the Washington area to which this facility is connected.
Enterprise is the visual embodiment of all the advanced technologies coming out of the government's high-performance computing and communications program. And ARPA is not keeping Enterprise to itself. Researchers from around the country pop in via internet connections or in person.
Is create a whole new spirit of cooperation among the different agencies
which
of the federal
was
government and throughout the
mind-blowing
scientific
at the
community.
time.
Oh,
but,
yes,
People are
very.
able to share ideas and develop new things simply based
But
upon
it's one of
their
those things
interest.
that you just
Mosaic is
Not
one of
okay.
those new developments. It's a hypertext interface
Nowadays,
that lets you
I can
browse
access
any
the
information
internet
service
on the phone
provided
in
by
my
the
pocket.
internet. Mosaic was developed
I mean,
by
look
the
at what
National
we're doing
Center
right
for
now.
Supercomputing Applications
this
with
is
ARPA's
you know
support.
what we're doing
The
right
thing that
now
makes Mosaic
is
special is that it
quite
gives
quite a bit more
everyone
advanced than what they're
access
talking
without
about.
there
Yeah,
having to be
we would have blown somebody's
a rocket
mind in the
scientist. They don't have to be
mid-90s.
trained in esoteric computing. Grade school kids can use it. In fact, we're installing it in schools because it's a point-and-click interface. And that point-and-click, instead
Like,
of going
that
through
goes-
information that's
that
on
goes
your
against some
personal
of the
computer,
point-and-click
it's
software
as
I
if there's a
used around
million
that time,
computers on the
which was
internet inside
very, very
your
condescending.
own personal computer.
Yeah.
These top-level researchers hope Mosaic lures more average computer users to the internet, especially young people.
All over the world,
We don't need young people on the
ordinary
internet.
people are becoming
We
electronic
fucked up.
publishers. They're putting up the things that mean something
say-
to them, and they want to
I
share
can't
it
say the
with
old
rest
people
of
are
the world.
doing a much
And
better
what Mosaic
job.
does is it
Fair.
provides a window into this incredible cyberspace, this information space that's developing, and it allows you to simply.
I can almost
what we
see
call
like
net surf,
the
looking
bolding
for
of the
cool stuff.
words here.
That's what the kids say they're doing. That's the whole mentality.
You know, like
of this.
cyber.
For the Computer Chronicles,
Well, I
I'm
mean more
Jonelle
like
Patterson.
cyberspace.
Yeah.
Like like as part of your vocabulary homework.
Also, CompuServe.
Yes.
As we mentioned earlier, there are lots of books out now on the internet, and one of the best is by Brendan Kehoe, who's our guest now. This is Brendan's
how
book,
many
floors
Zen
that
and the
guy?
Guide to the Internet, a beginner's guide, and there's a new edition just
Speaking
coming
of
out
the
in
early
January, I
90s,
guess.
Yeah.
Brendan, I want to
That's
ask you to log
another
on to the
indicator.
internet, and while
Zen
you're doing
and the
that, we're
art
going to
of
run over to
something.
NASA in
Yeah.
Moffett Field in California to see how they are
that was
using
just the regular
internet.
cottage industry.
This is the Operations Center for the NASA Science Internet, the network that lets NASA mission scientists around the world share information. NASA provides information for public internet access, but the NSI is strictly an insider network.
The public cannot get an account on the NASA Science
There
Internet.
are very
You
good
have
reasons
to
for this.
be funded
Yes.
somehow by NASA. However, anyone with access to the Internet can access the public information that NASA makes available.
The latest
That is what
innovation
the
on the
word
NASA
public
Science
means.
Internet is packet video. NASA has devised a way to
Ah,
compress
yes.
the video
Primitive
and audio
video
segments
calls.
of conferencing for carriage on the
Yeah.
Internet.
Oh, hey, some of the stuff that's basis of what we're doing right here in this moment.
At like
Packet video will
5
cost a lot
frames
less
per
than
second.
traditional video conferencing.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Cost 10 to 20 times as
Number
much
of frames per
as
second
the
you can
desktop
count on one
video
hand,
conferencing
and a
technology we're
resolution
developing
of,
here at
it's
NASA.
got to be like
Also, the
kilopixels.
interconnectivity between
Yeah, I was
sites
like,
often costs
bro, that's
$50 to
generous.
$100 an hour.
That thing was like
whereas using the
800 by
internet, we can
600
transfer the
display.
material at
That's a
approximately
kilo.
$10 an hour in wide area conferences, saving a tremendous
Fair.
amount.
NASA is developing video
That would
hardware to
be
reduce the signal load on the
4.8
internet at a
kilopixels.
whiteboard for document sharing. All of this technology
trying
may
to
show
do
up
math.
soon in schools nationwide.
In 3 to 5
Bro,
years,
that
we
might
expect to
actually
be
be
able to push
less
this technology into every
than
school
5
system
frames
in
per
the
second.
country
That's hilarious.
and share it for use in distance learning.
I feel
It
like
can also be
that
used
phrase
for,
should have been filed under
sharing,
dark
valuable
foreshadowing.
resources with a gifted
Because
instructor or a
no,
researcher
not that
in a
phrase.
wide area setting.
This will be in
Packet video
school
currently
soon
transmits at 2
because
frames
we're
per
hitting
second
the year of
across
what
the
was called
internet.
Eternal
Stations running
September.
at 10 to 12 frames per second will be
This
deployed
is
within 2 years.
this is when
We'll have
AOL hooked up to
remote
Usenet.
exploration vehicles sending back packet video information.
Yes.
Antarctica missions having to using visualization
So
technology.
I think you won't get
and
much
virtual
mention of
reality
AOL
technology,
here
using
because it's
packet
still the
video
early.
to distribute these not
Also,
only to researchers but to
CompuServe
educational institutions.
is
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Stelson.
sponsor. I'm pretty sure if they would have mentioned AOL, somebody from CompuServe would have come out and shot him on sight.
Ditto Prodigy.
Yeah.
And we're back here with Brendan Kehoe, and you've logged on to Internet Brendan. Before we take a look, what's the big deal about Internet? Why is everybody making such a fuss about it? Why is it better than CompuServe or Prodigy, etc.?
Well,
those are the
is that
internet.
it's not owned by one company or even a conglomerate of companies like Prodigy or CompuServe. You're influenced by what those companies thought your users would want to do. Where on the internet, anyone
Those
can
were
put any
internet
service
things,
on
but
and
they
have it do
weren't
anything
World
they
Wide
want
Web
with it.
things
Yeah,
originally.
those-
They were their own
Right.
private
Memorial.
services.
Molded by the people who use it.
Yeah,
All right,
they'll
let's take a look and
explain
show me
the
some of the neat
difference.
things you can do
Because
on
this
the
is a
internet.
tech show.
Okay, the first thing we'll be doing is looking for a job for a friend of mine who just got her teacher's certificate, and she's in the Northeast. So we'll be using a tool called Gopher.
Oh my God,
You actually
Gopher.
burrow around the internet
Oh.
and pop up where the information you need happens to be. And we're going into the
It's
online
like
career center.
pre-Google, friends.
And this will let you search the
This
job
is
listings
pre,
and
like,
also let you search
everything.
resumes if you're looking for
This
people
is
to
pre
work for you.
Alta
And here we'll
Vista.
search for the word
Like,
teacher.
Pretty
It'll go
pretty
and
much
perform the search.
any actual
So you're looking for a
search
teacher's job in the
Graphical
Northeast?
interface.
Right.
Okay.
And this is running on a machine
Not quite
in
that
Michigan.
far back.
And here we've got a small list of positions, and let's say she wants to be a substitute teacher at the Bayview.
But on the
Healthcare
upside,
Center.
at least
We'll get the list of
generative
contact
AI is
information, the phone
clogging
number,
up all the
the
search
requirements, salary, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What else?
And the next thing we'll be looking at is one of the more silly parts of the internet. It's called Finger, which usually will let you go and check if people are logged into certain systems. But some people have set up the information that gets
I would
output
imagine
by
this was
Finger
a search
to be
for a
whatever they want, like
Stombocom.
NFL scores or the Billboard charts or that.
It would not surprise me if
So here we're looking at
Stombocom
the
was
Billboard
something
charts
even in
for this
1993.
week. And
Okay, it
let's
wasn't
see.
actually because
et cetera, et
And
cetera.
let's see, number 5 is Mariah Carey.
you know.
So one thing we can do over the net is order that CD.
So you can't actually buy stuff on the internet.
Oh man,
Right.
buying stuff online,
it's a very
that'll
sticky
never catch
situation
on.
because one of the biggest problems is security and transfer of money and that kind of
This
thing.
is also a
If
few
you think
years.
that'll
Many
ever catch
systems
on, I've got
actually set
a
it up so that
river
you
in
can
Brazil to sell
do
you.
things on the
I got
internet
Oceanfront,
involving money
Arizona,
transfer and
Oceanfront
credit cards and
property in
that sort of
Arizona
thing.
for
All right,
you.
what else?
So here it's
So we're
going
buying a
into
CD right
we're going
now.
into the compact disc connection. And as soon as it wakes up, one of the drawbacks of using the internet is that since it's so autonomous, every system it can be up or down or be as slow as fast as you
So
want.
nobody's really controlling
Right,
traffic
and-
in the middle.
And the only guarantee is that your packets will get there. It's just a matter of when they will get there.
Okay. Well, can we skip past this right now?
Can't
Look at
imagine
something
why
else?
this was just a
Yeah.
novelty in
What we'll do is
1993.
We'll skip buying the CD at the moment.
We'll get out of there. And now we'll go in and we'll use a thing, again using Gopher, to look up an article in the New Republic magazine. And we'll fix a typo, and
New
there we go.
Republic.
And we'll go into the
Like,
electronic
I'm trying to think,
newsstand.
is that one of those
And
right-wing
all of
mags
the
or?
articles in the current edition of many magazines are available for this, like the New Republic, Internet
might
World,
be
in
now,
fact, is
but I
actually
think
one, Foreign Affairs magazine. So now we'll go into
Because
the
it's
New
got one
Republic,
of those names
and we'll go into
that's
the print issue
very,
and
you know.
see what their editorial is about. It
Yes.
just happens to be about NAFTA. So we have to do a sit return on there, and there's
You
the
get a full
editorial.
text article.
Full text for it. And what we can also do now that we've read that editorial, is we can go over to another system, in this case,
Oh God,
the University of
FTP.
North Carolina.
Oh, this
And
is
we'll use
bringing
anonymous
back some
FTP.
memories.
And by typing anonymous at the name prompt, and then use our email address as a password. You don't
Now I
need a real
pictured
password.
what you'd actually be.
This will let anyone put files available on the internet. And so in this case, we're going to go into a political science area. And if we do a directory, we'll see it has a whole bunch of stuff, the U.S. budget.
Wow.
And now we'll go into NAFTA.
Abort.
And we can see that we can get
People giving
full
political
text
opinions on the
of
internet.
NAFTA.
This was never not awful.
Separated by the chapters and by the appendix.
At least they're getting it from
Couple of quick
university.
questions.
That can never go
if I
wrong,
want to get on
right,
the internet,
guys?
how do I do it? How do I get into internet?
The best solution, since it's very
haven't
dependent
heard some of the
on where
stuff
you live,
that's
is
come
to
out of
call something called
academia.
the Internet
That's
Helpline.
called a joke,
And you call
friend.
1-800-444-4345.
No, I just don't find it
and
funny.
They'll help you find out who you should
What's
talk
the best way to get
in your local area.
What on average is it going to cost to use internet?
Between $10 and $20 a month
All right,
for a
not
normal
too bad.
user with a modem.
Brendan, thank you very much.
All right, to get the most out of something like the internet, we really need that information superhighway to give us all a common digital data path. That's the goal of the
Another
developers.
signifier
Bell
of the
Communications
early
Research
90s,
Labs
calling
in New
this
Jersey.
thing the
Bell
information
provides research
superhighway.
support and communication
God,
services
that
to the
was just-
7 regional Bell
that was like
operating
one of the
companies.
terms.
Projects there involve
That was like
expansion
deep.
of digital
it's a
transmission
better
pathways,
analogy than a series
such as
of
the
tubes.
development of video-on-demand service transmitted
True,
over
but it's less
existing phone
funny.
lines, and innovations in video
Man,
conferencing,
video on
such as
demand.
this desktop drop-in system called Cruiser.
Hi, Wayne. How you doing? Okay.
Good.
Research
You can
director
clearly
Steve
see that some
Weinstein says the
ideas
internet
for what
plays a
the
significant
World
role
Wide
in
Web
Bell
should be
Corps'
used for.
work,
We're always
both as a
kinda
research
there.
tool and
Just,
as a
you know,
subject for
the-
Also,
high-speed
wow, that
technology
is
development.
really early multiple
believe
monitor
that the
setup.
public network, the owners of Bell Corps
Look,
can be providers of
look,
significant
you're-
providers of those
all you're
kinds
getting
of
is
facilities
CRTs
that the future
that
broadband internet is going to need.
can do
How
640
people
by
react to
480 at
electronic
most.
forms of
Just
information
know
is
an
another
intern
subject of
probably
Bell Corps
died to put that
research.
setup together.
That's why Bell Corps decided to provide the Morris County Library System with a host connection to the
Oh,
internet.
God.
We've
Dumb
extended an
terminals.
existing interlibrary network that they had in Morris County, New Jersey. The existing network had a consolidated catalog for the entire county. So all the libraries had terminals, public access terminals, and also some other terminals that only the librarians used, and had access to a consolidated catalog and circulation database. And what MoreNet is an extension of this to connect this whole network to the outside world and make a lot more resources available.
So far, the response has been enthusiastic.
They realize how much it offers.
I'm like,
that it's almost.
I guess this is what enthusiastic passes for on this program.
The fact that they can jump from Maine to Australia, back to San Francisco on the internet, and they love it.
One of the items on the
trying to
MoreNet
have
menu
emotions,
is a Bell
but
Corps
it looks like she
creation called
doesn't know how
Superbook.
to
It's a hypertext
emote.
interface that lets internet network providers offer large searchable databases.
What Superbook will do is allow them to maintain their
How do I get
document
off the
database
ride?
in a central location on the internet, and then put out their
lizard
documentation,
skin is
whether it's a
showing.
journal
The
or some other
lizard
set of
skin is
materials,
showing.
to a whole variety of end-user workstations, ranging
That
from
would have been
an
more
ASCII
entertaining.
terminal all the way up to a very fancy workstation.
MoreNet's internet connection also provides access for library
comes on
patrons
again,
to university
let's watch how
databases,
she blinks.
weather information, and the CIA World Factbook.
If the,
We're
liz-
interested
if
in
the
making a
lizard
more
lid
effective public
blink, we
communications
start
network.
running.
And by public, we mean
Agreed.
something
None
open
of these-
to everyone.
None of
And
these
this
people are
this is part of
particularly
it, trying to make
charismatic.
access
Probably
broader,
why they worked in the
easier, more
library
effective
science.
for a very wide public.
Probably.
And we hope that the knowledge we get here will help not only our owners to be more effective providers, but will advance the whole national information infrastructure.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
I think I preferred it back in the 80s when they just let us know what was coming up next rather than doing.
The internet is more than a technology. It's a sociological phenomenon which is redefining the word community.
No,
Here to
it
show
says
us that
it's a
aspect
place
of
for
the internet is
sociopaths,
Howard
but that's
Rheingold.
gonna be out about
Howard's the
30
author
years
of
later.
this book called The Virtual Community, and I want to ask you to sign on for us. And while we're waiting for you to log on, Howard,
I'm
we're gonna
betting
run
that's
over
going to be
Washington,
oh
D.C.
so
to see
positive
one of the
about
most innovative applications
this whole
on the
internet thing and the
It's
community
world's
that
first
spring up
computer-delivered
unaware.
radio
Nothing
station.
ever bad ever happened
You've been
because of the
listening to
internet.
Geek of the Week on Internet Talk Radio.
Carl Malamud is Internet Talk Radio. He produces
Speaking of
audio
such
data
things,
files at this studio in the
meanwhile,
National
promotes
Press Club building,
podcasts.
then uploads them onto the
Yeah,
internet
here's
via the
what we
World
do.
Wide Web.
Yeah.
By sending mail to info@radio.com, you can access his interview program, Geek of the Week, and recordings of the National Press Club Luncheon Series.
I'd like to welcome club members and their guests in the audience
Oh,
today,
no.
as well as those of you watching on C-SPAN or accessing it on the global internet computer
You know, at
network.
times I miss old school interfaces.
Meanwhile, that would cause me to have
wrote books about
PTSD.
computers. I wrote 7 books, and I wrote magazine
I was going to
articles,
say
and
that
I was looking for
equalizer
a
is
magazine about
perhaps
the
a
internet,
little
and there
bit
wasn't
too
one,
old
and I
school.
wanted to start one.
I'm having
But that's expensive because you have to
flashbacks.
print paper and you have to
Help.
mail paper and you have to audit who
In
gets
fairness,
the
it does
paper
look
so you
very
can get
much
it
like
back
an
to your
actual
advertisers.
physical
And
equalizer.
I decided,
It
gee, let's do
does,
something on the
but
network.
also fuck
Unlike a normal
that.
broadcast station, which
Oh, yeah,
transmits
no, I don't
programming
actually
on a
like
regular
actual physical
schedule, Melamude's
equalizers.
cyber station is asynchronous radio.
Our radio is a kind of radio station which you pull up when you want. You come in the morning, a phone call comes in, you put the radio on hold. You decide you're tired, you put it on hold again. You cut out the part you don't like. You just chop it out. You don't like my restaurant reviews? I love doing restaurant reviews, but you don't like them? You just want to hear the technical meat? You cut them out.
This non-linear digital approach to journalism
These
raises
days,
both
it's,
ethical and
you move
procedural
the
questions
YouTube
that
bar
Malamud looks
ahead.
forward to discussing on the internet.
We need to start seeing the
Or you,
Neototenbergs of the world
you
showing up on the
download an
internet.
extension.
And we also want the
Like, I have
individuals
one
of the
that
world being
skips
able
all
to publish
the
themselves.
sponsorships on
For the
YouTube.
Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle
Yeah.
Stelson.
And
that
we're
is
back with Howard
interesting,
Rheingold. And
the
Howard, let's get back to the
primordia of the
virtual community
podcast.
notion. And you're logged on to something called The Well. How does that relate to the internet?
Well, if you think of the internet as a
Oh
digital
my
superhighway,
God,
then
bro,
all that
why
information
would
you
your
can
significant
get,
other
that's
let you
like
out of the
libraries
house?
and all of that software you can get, those are like warehouses.
You're assuming he's
the well
married.
is like a community where
Or
people live.
has
It's
ever-
not just information
or has ever seen
products
a
that you're looking
woman
for. It's
ever.
connecting with other people.
Fair,
there are many
but
communities
also, oh
accessible
ye
through
gods.
the internet.
All right, show us on The Well.
Eventually something would kick in and
Well,
be like, maybe I
communities are really
shouldn't
built
put these
from
together.
people talking with each other, and this is about
Here's the thing.
using
That's
computers
only
to
the
structure
second most tedious
communications
thing about
between
this
humans.
picture.
So here's a
I'm
list
wondering
of
how-
all of the general
Like,
topics.
I'm wondering
that
how
people
he was allowed to
discuss
have that
in
fucking
topic
rate
areas. So you have social
tattooed to his
responsibility in politics, and that includes everything from environment to firearms. There are hundreds of discussions in each one of those conference areas.
no.
Media and communications, you can
please.
see there are dozens of different topics there. Business and livelihood.
Let's talk
This
about
meeting will go
firearms on
on
the
for
internet. That
minutes.
could
And each
never
of these
go
conferences
wrong.
is really the
Also,
recording,
AIDS.
if you will, of all the
Yeah,
discussions that have
that'll
taken
be
place between all the
great.
members of this community, right?
Once
That's
again,
right. It's as if you
certain
walked
things
into
on
a
the
cocktail
internet
party
have
and you
always
reeled back
been
the
awful.
conversation
Yeah.
to the beginning so you could see what people were talking
All
about.
right, how do you use this? Give me an example of one of the conferences you would be involved
Here's the
in.
thing.
Okay, well,
I've
one
seen
that
what
has a lot of
people have been
heart and a lot
talking
of
about.
use to me
I
is the
I never
parenting
want to see
conference.
them
I'm not talking
again.
about computers, I'm talking
Yeah.
about our children there. So if you go to the parenting conference, you will find that there are a lot
Oh,
of
God.
topics within that parenting conference where people talk about where do you get a martial arts teacher for kids, or what do you do about 3-year-old jealousy, or
so innocent.
a
Yeah,
child of
this was
cyberspace, or
curated.
putting
This
baby
had to be
pictures up
curated.
online.
There ain't
So
no
you
way
can
in
talk to
hell
people who
this
have
is
similar problems that you
live.
might not
Like,
otherwise be able to meet
Well, I mean-
or get to have
well, I
this
mean, like,
conversation with, right?
these
Yes, in
days
fact,
it
you
would
can have
be
a
about
kind of ready-made
no,
community when
how
you need one. One real example of that
wokeness
was
has
when
infiltrated
one of the
my
members of the community
school
discovered that
system.
his son
Wokeness,
was diagnosed with
vaccines are
leukemia.
controlling
So
your
he opened a
kids.
topic on the well, gave a
You
little
know.
introduction to that topic in which he discussed what was happening to him and his
Yeah,
family. And
yeah,
really
no, this is
within
curated
minutes,
as fuck.
other people began flocking to his
Of course
help.
it is.
And it was not just emotional support. There were a couple of doctors, a couple of nurses, and a couple of recovered leukemia
Yeah,
welcome to
patients.
primordial
so that's kind
Reddit
of priceless
boys and
help
girls.
you can get from people you may have never met before, but the
The
well
irony
or
is,
other communities
paranoia
put
was
you
a
in
lot
touch with them.
higher in the 90s.
And you're on the well, but you might
I'm
also be able to talk
aware.
to people in
I
another part of the
lived it.
country, another part of the world. for
You
that matter,
may
that
be aware,
they
but
might be
people
dealing
who
with
are
similar
watching
problems.
this
Oh, absolutely.
may
You can
not
get onto
Fair,
an
I've
on-ramp
also
of the
seen our
internet in
demographic
Tokyo,
data.
and
Yeah,
a
boys
second
and
later,
girls,
you are
this
in the
is not a
parenting conference of
new-
the well. So
not
that's
a
what
new
I mean by a
thing.
virtual
No,
community.
no, I
is
mean, like,
the time and space
Valen
constraints
sentiment
of our
on
normal
the
communities are
internet
not there.
about the
It's
internet
what we're interested
from
in and what we
normal
talk
people
with
was
each other about
trust
that really
no
defines
one.
our community.
Predator,
Or what else could we do on the
lie
well? What other kind of
around
discussion
every
or community
fucking
could we
corner.
get into,
It's basically the
Well,
90s
you
version
can go
of
and talk
Stranger
about
Things.
computers. I'm
You know,
using a
these
Macintosh
days-
here.
you know, these days
You
it's
can go
complete
to the
fucking
Macintosh
opposite.
conference. This
It's,
is,
you know,
if you've got a
believe
problem
every every
your best friend
every
who knows
stupid
about
and
computers,
dumb
his
thing
number is
that the
busy,
internet
you can
tells
log
you.
on to the well, and there are
Yeah,
experts
or like,
who are
you know,
fighting with each other
before
to
on
give
the
you
internet,
kind
don't
of
tell a
information
stranger
you
where
need to
you
solve your
live.
problem.
Now you're
Howard,
paying
what's
a
the social
stranger
significance of
to
this? Is
pick
this
you
really
up
a
in their
major
car
change in the
to
way
drop
human
you off
beings
where
may
either
interact with each other?
pick
You're
you up from where
suggesting
you
that in,
live
say, the
or take
leukemia
you to
case,
where
for
you
example.
live.
Well, I believe that it is.
Well,
You have to remember that in democratic societies, citizens talking with each other is very important.
Have their minds blown by the concept of
a lot of that with the mass media. Now we have an opportunity for citizens to create their own communications with each other. So when these big deals with the big companies and the big governments carve up this new territory, I feel it's very important that we keep kind of social green belt. That we keep the ability for citizens to talk amongst each other.
Yellow
Briefly,
or white
Howard,
pages
is there a
book will just
downside?
drop
I mean,
off
there's
at your
something
house.
limited about meeting
Courtesy
people
of the phone
electronically.
company.
We're here face to face. I kind of
They're
get the
also
sense
not
of who you are
necessarily
and
the
so on.
easiest thing to
Is there something
use,
missing,
but,
some
you know,
negative to
helps.
this online community?
I think it's important to remember that just as the computer can connect us with people, it can also distance us from people. And you need to know
buddy,
that
if
just
you
as
only
you
knew what was
can't
going to
trust
happen
everyone
30
you talk
years
to on
later.
the telephone, you can't
He
trust
wasn't
everyone you meet in a virtual
wrong.
community
I'm
until
aware.
you meet them and get to know
But
them
oh,
offline.
buddy, if you
Howard,
only
thank you very
knew.
much. That is our look at Internet. Stay tuned now for this week's computer news on Random Access.
Oh boy.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Let's see what was going on in the world this particular week, 1993.
Oh, God, Dino Page.
In the Random Access file this week, there are some new entries in the sub-notebook category. Canon introduced the InnovaBook 1010C family of monochrome and color portable computers. The Canon 486 SL sub-notebooks weigh 4 pounds and come bundled with MS-DOS 6.2 and Windows 3.1.
we still haven't gotten rid
One
of
model
that
comes with an
80s
internal bubble jet printer. That's the smallest Canon printer ever made.
For tech in
Prices
the 90s.
range from $1,600 to
Well,
just
it's more
over
that rounded tech
$2,000.
didn't come until the
Panasonic rolled out its
2000s.
new DX475 megahertz notebook, which comes with a multimedia pocket.
475
The pocket holds a
megahertz.
floppy disk drive, which pops out to accept
Holy
optional peripherals,
shit.
including an internal CD-ROM
I mean, yeah,
drive, an
that's
extra
going to be
battery
affecting
pack, or a
anything
TV tuner.
literally
Prices
decades
range
old.
from $5,400 to
Yeah.
$5,900. And Symantec has released version 2 of ACT for Windows, the popular contact management software which helps you keep track of your business relationships. ACT 2.0 now includes
remember when you needed
network
to
support,
buy software
integrated email,
for
and
this kind of
enhanced calendar
yeah.
printing
thing?
functions. There's also a new version of ACT
Now it's
available
literally
for
just
HP
built
home
into my
tops.
phone for free.
Alacrity Systems has
I mean,
a new
that's actually
hardware
software that
software
got
bundle on the
outdated
market
really
called
fucking
Office in a Box.
Yeah.
Turns
not so
your
much
PC
because
and
of the
printer
internet,
into a digital
because
copier,
of
a plain
Windows.
paper
Yeah.
fax
That-
machine, and
kind
an
of thing that got
electronic
provided in
filing
Windows
cabinet.
for free.
The $500
Later on,
Office in a Box
like
bundle
Windows
includes a
95 or
scanner,
98.
fax modem, and
Like, there's a
Alacrity's
whole bunch
eQuip
of
software.
there's a whole bunch
And
of
finally,
like
in honor
software
of the
categories
25th
that got
anniversary of man's
outmoded
landing on
by
the moon,
free
Alpha
versions of
Books has
itself.
released a new title called Computers in Space: Journeys with NASA. The book contains
Okay,
rare
actually,
photographs
like how
and
computers
extensive
work in
information on the
space is
role
one
that
of those
computers
real
played in putting
interesting
people in
things.
space, and
I need to
information on the
actually find a
possibilities of
decent
computer
video on
technology
that,
in
'cause that could
future
be an
NASA
interesting
explorations.
thing.
That's it for this week's
Because
Computer
it's not
Chronicles.
just
I'm
take a
Janelle
laptop
Stelson.
and go up on a rocket. There's a lot
Computer
more
Chronicles
involved
is
in
brought
that.
to you in part by
No.
Intel, microprocessor
I'm like, I get-
technology for the software of
I
today
guess
and
how
tomorrow.
far we can
Intel,
stretch this,
the
we can look at
computer
an episode of
inside.
Launchbox.
Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers
Like,
Association,
not
providers of
necessarily
educational
computers,
materials
but it's
to
about
help
the
manage
space
software.
program and
Don't copy that floppy.
technology.
Yeah.
And by Hewlett-Packard.
It was an
Personal
early
Computer
morning
Division.
people in the classroom thing from the Nickelodeon in the 90s.
Video cassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also
Don't
publishes
call
a
that
companion
number, boys and
newsletter
girls.
containing
It more
details
than
on
likely
products
does not
demonstrated
exist, or
and
it is a
information
porn
on
line.
program topics. To order a
I'm
video
like,
cassette or a
also,
newsletter,
you
call
don't need to spend
1-800-799-4949
$32.50
or
on a
write
tape of the Computer Chronicles
Please
when it's
specify
here free
program
on the
subject
internet.
for tapes.
Yeah,
All orders
fair,
include a
but
free
at the
software
same
program
time,
for auditing software
know.
use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization's software legal.
Oh yes, the definitive guide to keeping your editing or your company's software legal.
Anyway, so there's another episode of the Computer Chronicles in the can. As per usual, it's a fun look back. You know, it's not particularly funny, but, you know, that's because these are, you know, they're dated in pretty typical ways.
Well, it's also kind of interesting, even in '93, the primordia stuff we use daily now.
Right.
That's partly why I picked this one. It was less funny and more the stuff that basically made the show possible was being developed 30 years ago.
Right. I mean, if we want funny, we'll go back to, well, what one of the video game developers or publishers were doing in the 90s.
Right.
Yes, I think next time we'll look at the launch of the Sega Saturn and the very strange way Sega was promoting that console. Oh God.
There's a
You are
reason
not
why
ready
the Sega Saturn failed. It's because Sega lost how to fucking promote things.
Well, more Saturn Day, but we'll get into it when we get into it.
God, why did you make me relive that in my mind, you fucking bastard?
Look, I don't think you've seen what I've seen. Like, do you know what the theater of the mind is?
I have a feeling it will probably come rushing back to me when we get into that, and I'm going to call you a fucking cocksucker for it. Because I think that's one of the things I probably had repressed.
Possibly, but oh God. Like, it's just so weird. Anyway, putting that aside, it's time to get to the next segment. So, play the music, monkey. All right. Welcome to the topic of discussion. So, we just had a bit of an unusual event, or I guess technically events, because Nintendo, for some reason, has decided to do a dual release of a Nintendo Partner Direct and a Nintendo Indies Direct. Not going to lie, I think this was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, mainly because, what's been the top news, the top chatter out of this event? Hint, not the indies for the most part.
Yeah.
No. I'm like, the top things that
I suppose they did probably
about,
get kind of overshadowed by the actual
they got
brand names you'd recognize.
Well, it's not just that, but the brand names that you recognize are bringing very hefty collections to the markets. Whether it be Konami finally releasing the Castlevania DS games, like as a fucking shadow drop, no less.
Because we were literally just talking about this. Oh, they may not be able to put those on PC because of all the DS features involved. And then they fucking drop them on us.
Yeah. Well, it's more why it was taking so long to drop them on us. Because it's been about 2-ish years, I want to say, since the Advanced Collection.
Yeah.
Like, the point is, that was the biggest thing to come out of this. But it's not the only thing that people have been talking about. In terms of indies, the big thing that people are talking about is Pizza Tower.
Yep.
Which is an existing game, but should do well on the Switch. There were a few other neat things, although there were a bunch of things that have already been announced too, that are just a little bit more details. But
true.
The
other big
Morsels and Neva looked pretty nice, and Moth Kubit, but also, I guess listening to people talk while serving them drinks is a genre now.
Yeah, the Coffee Talk series or Tavern Talk.
Because there's Coffee Talk, I guess there's Tavern Talk, there's Valhalla, and they're working on Nirvana, the sequel to that.
I'm like, yes, they are. But like I said, there was a lot of major things to come out from the partner side of the equation. like I said, there's not just the Dominus Collection. There's Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which is basically
now including Power Stone for your games that haven't showed up in a hot minute that a lot of people were looking forward to.
It's pretty much all the big fighters that they released on the Dreamcast. Because what's conspicuous by its absence is Rival School, because we got the sequel Project Justice in the Capcom Fighting Collection 2. My guess is Capcom might be trying to figure out how to get the PlayStation version of Rival School, the full PlayStation version of Rival School. See, the version we got back in the day wasn't the full version because there was an entire another game attached to it in Japan, let's say, that never got localized. So that could be the holdup there. Anyway, as I said, Tales of Grace's F Remastered was announced, which is the first initiative in the Tales of 30th Anniversary series. Suikoden 1 and 2, the HD remaster, got a release date, as did Lego Horizon Adventures. There's some other big games that you would think get more buzz, but did not. Like the Project Stalker trilogy, the Stalker trilogy getting a Nintendo Switch edition, but that could be just because it's the Stalker games. I honestly don't see them working too well on a console for various reasons. Another big announcement is Tetris Forever.
Tetris.
Well, it's also number 3 in the Gold Monster series. So
yep. That's what they were hinting at.
Yep. I have made overtures to the current PR people for Digital Eclipse.
If you get the code, you know who's getting it, right?
This wasn't about the code.
I know, but the people involved too.
Well, here's the thing: the people involved have changed. I'm the people I was dealing with previously were different people. It's like the people I'm dealing with now are people I know, but let us say they are people I like a lot less. Because they're a lot fucking stingier with things. But putting that aside, I did speak to them and they said, quote unquote, they apparently had they got an uptick in requests, so they have to prioritize the top tier content makers.
Of course.
I have half a mind to speak directly to some people, but I've also been kind of busy with other people as well.
Yeah.
So I haven't had the bandwidth to talk directly to say Steven about this, especially since I'm dealing with something in regards to LRG. I'm short story there is the PR person that we knew. It's her last week there. The person we spot, Alina.
Yeah.
She's getting a new job somewhere else. Hasn't told me where. Probably can't because she's still on official time.
Right.
So we're trying to ensure continuity is happening, but it's also the new PR person is recovering from Gamescom.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's kind of what's been occupying my attention. So, In addition to booking multiple guests for MSP and this show. This is the thing that people don't see that occupies my time in between weeks and show broadcasts.
Right.
Anyway, so with that digression out of the way, got I think did we already have a release date for the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake?
I vaguely think we do, but the actual date isn't coming to mind.
Yeah, well, we got that here.
Because I vaguely remember somebody joking about, oh, this isn't on a Sunday, the Japan economy is going to collapse.
But they did additionally tease some kind of monster mode, which could be interesting.
They also announced, Electronic Arts is doing a compilation remaster of the first two, or at least two of the My Sims games. I don't know, there was a fuck ton of them on the Switch.
Somehow I missed that was a thing.
You're better off that way.
Like, you had to be kind of plugged into the Wii scene to really know that.
Yeah, and also had someone younger. There's a weird Venn diagram for the My Sims series.
Yeah, but EA is deciding that now is a good time to revisit it. Not sure why, but anyway, we got a reminder that Shovel Knight Shovel of Hope DX exists.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I don't get this release. I made a pretty much token gesture towards the club. Never heard back. I'm not too torn up about it. Because
the point of it is that there were some features in the original release that didn't exist outside of the 3DS versions.
I guess, but it's like I don't really see the point of this.
Yeah, it's not the biggest deal, but I did miss some of those features in the remakes.
I suppose so. I'm just like, I have very little interest in revisiting Shovel of Hope, either reviewing it or because we were one of the first people in the world to cover Shovel of Hope.
This is not to say it's not a good game. It is. It's just a game that is available in many other ways.
Yeah, it's like, we covered every single expansion pack that came with this. We kind of did our time with this game. And I just don't think enough has been added here to where I can say I feel like, talking about this again.
Unless they have some revelation that there's more to it than what it seems to be, which they haven't yet.
Yeah, it's kind of why I'm fine with not revisiting this. It's like I'd much rather talk to Yacht Club about Mina the Hollower.
Mm-hmm.
I
have a question. Did we know about Star Overdrive yet? Or was that an actual new thing?
I'm trying to think.
The one with the hoverboard.
Possibly, but with indie titles, it's always hard.
No, that was in the partner showcase.
Oh, okay.
It was like the second or third thing they did.
I'll be honest, I don't know. Anyway, like I said, Star Overdrive. This is probably its announcement here.
Because that looked pretty neat.
Yeah, I suppose I'll eventually get to that. Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition got announced.
Worms is fun.
Yeah, and this is also, this is the most beloved of the Worms games. So beloved that it was getting updates up to just like 4 years ago. But now in association with, yet again, Digital Eclipse. This is another reason why it's been hard to get them back on the show.
They've been busy.
Yes, they keep having projects.
Better than not.
Indeed.
Yeah. But it's but also in this case, it's not Digital Eclipse we would be speaking to. It would be Team 17. I've worked the PR side of this business enough to know who would be talking about this particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anyway, what is it? There's just so much here. Oh, right, a Patrick Star game got announced. Being handled by Outright Games. That's probably because THQ Nordic, along with the usual SpongeBob game developer Purple Lamp, they're kind of busy with Epic Mickey right now.
Mm.
Like, let's see, new Five Nights at Freddy's game got announced, or technically free story DLC.
Literally just finished describing why I'm not interested in anything related to that.
Let's see, I said, when it comes to the indie stuff, it's like, this is the stuff that has the best chance of appearing on our program.
The new entries in Atelier and Rune Factory both looked very dramatic for my understandings of those franchises.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever actually played either of those series. Like, that's right. One of the more hyped indie games that I've seen recently, The Plucky Squire, got their launch date. Metal Slug Tactics, which is actually being handled by the same team that gave us the Dragon's Trap remake and Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to those two. The Plucky Squire and Metal Slug Tactics.
Did try to talk to SNK about this. They were not interested in appearing on our program.
Apparently there's a Pico Park 2. I have personally seen the first one almost ruin a friend group. Not mine.
I'm like, I have thought about, getting that for the show. But, I kind of like our dynamic as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, one of the bigger deals, Sid Meier Civilization 7 is coming to the Nintendo Switch. I know this has actually been pissing people off. Now, why would that be, you might ask? Processing power. Because Civilization 7 can run on a Nintendo Switch, that means it's not going to be taking advantage of the most powerful computers out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is an actual thing that's going on in the discourse. This is,
Yeah, humans are stupid. Can we get rid of them?
I'm like, the answer to that is yes, actually.
Also, it's a fucking 4X game. It's okay if it can be downclocked a bit to run on weaker hardware. No offense, but I don't mind if I can't zoom in close enough to see every pore on the faces of my 6,000 Roman centurions.
Look, this is what you're dealing with in terms of the PC power base.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm like, oh, right. Also, Fitness Boxer 3 is happening. Like, it's kind of like, it's like Just Dance 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I guess nice of you, Ubisoft, to remind us that Just Dance is still happening. Like, do we really need a notification that, Ubisoft's putting out yearly Just Dance at this point?
Maybe.
I guess they feel the need. Let's see, Cuiseneer. I think that's how that's pronounced.
Yeah, Cuiseneer, Europa, and On Your Tail were all part of a sizzle reel, and I'm not quite sure what they are. On Your Tail looked like, hey, we have Sly Cooper at home a little bit.
Yeah, probably things I'll look into at some point. I suppose, in other things that I am looking into, I finally sent a contact notice to the Bolletero people.
Balatro? Yeah, that was a bit weird. Like, Balatro now featuring, like, 5 crossovers with other properties and more. I mean, I guess there's no reason why you can't do that and just have, like, different themed Jokers and card conditions and stuff. It works fine. It's a very versatile game, but it's not what I would have expected.
Yeah. And it is a showcase of how far Bolletero has broken through.
It's Bolletero.
Yeah. However you pronounce it.
3 vowels.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that's about
we'd heard of Peglin before, right?
No, I think this got announced here.
Okay. I could have sworn I'd heard something about a game with a weird... Anyway, it looked interesting, like a fun combination of genres using pachinko as like a battle system and an RPG thing, but I do want to know exactly how RPG this is, because a series of battles doesn't become an RPG just because you have hit points and it's turn-based. Like, it looked interesting, but I need to know a little bit more about what it actually is.
Is everybody still there?
I am.
I think we might have lost Adam then.
Adam, did you die?
No, I'm here.
All right.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just waiting for you to finish.
No, I'm good.
All right. Anyway, like I said, I think this is a good wrap-up for the Partner Direct and Friends. So, anyway, coming up on the week ahead, as previously mentioned, we do have a new episode of MSP happening. No Friday show this week. It was in the cards at one point, but the guests needed to recover from Gamescom. I'm like, so I wasn't surprised, because that's what usually happens when someone goes to a fucking convention. They need some recovery time. Especially when they were working the crowds and shit.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Victors, Kill It With Fire, Wooden Sensei, and Tricky Towers. So look for that, and until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.